Welcome to Infidelity Truths. Before we dive into today's gripping story, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us create more thrilling stories just for you. Let's begin. Ethan and I have shared so many years together. Years filled with laughter, comfort, and the quiet kind of love that doesn't need grand gestures to feel monumental. Our marriage was built on a foundation of mutual respect and deep emotional intimacy. We had our routines, our rituals, the way his hand would always reach for mine when we walked down the street, or how he'd know exactly what to say when life felt overwhelming. I treasured every piece of him, every part of what we had created together. It felt unshakable. But a few weeks ago, I made a mistake. One so careless, so heartbreakingly unthinking that it cracked open everything I thought was solid. It wasn't betrayal in the traditional sense. I didn't cheat or lie, but words, even unintended ones, can cut deeper than actions. And mine did. It happened on a night like any other. Easy, soft around the edges. We'd been drinking, smoking a little, lounging in that hazy, intimate space where the world feels far away and all that exists is the two of you and the hum of connection. We laughed, teased each other, flirted like we used to in the early days. I felt light, relaxed, completely safe in his presence. Then in the middle of our playfulness, he grinned and asked, "Do you want something big?" His voice full of that familiar flirtatious edge, trying to make me laugh to turn me on. It was supposed to be a joke. A line tossed out into the open space between us. But my reply changed everything. Without thinking, without a filter, without care, I answered, "Something bigger would be really nice." The second the words left my lips, I knew I'd made a terrible mistake. I watched the change in his expression. His eyes lost their warmth, the smile fell away, and in its place came something hard, something wounded. The air turned cold. The night collapsed into silence. It wasn't meant to hurt. It wasn't even truly meant. But what he heard, what anyone would hear, was that he wasn't enough for me, that I wanted more, someone better, something he couldn't give. I tried to backpedal immediately. I said it was a joke, just a careless comment made under the influence. But there was no taking it back. The damage was instant and vast, like a fault line opening beneath us, and it only grew wider with every attempt I made to explain. The days that followed were hollow. Ethan, the man who once filled every room with laughter, who used to kiss me good morning before I even opened my eyes, withdrew into himself. He barely looked at me. He started spending hours in the garage buried in tools and silence. It was no longer his hobby space. It became his hiding place, his escape from me. From what I said, from the pain I caused. Our home, once filled with warmth and softness, became a house of silence and tension. Conversations became rare and brittle, each word weighed down by the weight of the one I had spoken. He wouldn't touch me, wouldn't look at me for more than a few seconds. The bed felt like a cold, empty expanse between us. The intimacy we once shared, physical, emotional, spiritual, was gone. And I felt helpless. I apologized over and over. I told him it wasn't true, that it wasn't how I felt, that I loved him and only him, that I'd made a stupid, careless mistake. But my words, once capable of soothing him, making him smile, making him feel loved, meant nothing now. He told me he couldn't trust them, that they sounded rehearsed, dishonest. He told me that night confirmed something he'd always feared deep down, that he wasn't good enough for me, that I had just settled, that I'd faked my desire for him, that I'd been harboring disappointment all these years. None of that was true, not even close. But he couldn't believe me anymore. Eventually, in my desperation, I suggested counseling. I thought maybe a third party could help us find our way back. He didn't even dignify the suggestion with a real response. Just rolled his eyes, shook his head, and walked away. So I went alone. I sat in a small room with a therapist and sobbed. I told her what I'd said, how I'd said it, and how everything had unraveled since. She listened quietly, then gave me advice I didn't want to hear, that sometimes marriages don't survive these kinds of wounds, that the pain I caused might be too deep for him to move past. But she also told me not to give up just yet, that love, real love, isn't always lost in one mistake. She urged me to stop pushing for forgiveness and instead focus on showing it, not in grand apologies, but in quiet acts of love and care. So I tried. I made his favorite meals, cleaned the garage without saying a word, left notes in places I knew he'd see, not demanding anything, just reminding him I loved him. I tried to greet him each day with a smile, even if he didn't smile back. I gave him space, even when it hurt to feel the distance. Then one morning, it all became too much. I broke down completely. I begged him to talk to me, to say something, anything. And what he said shattered me all over again. He looked at me with eyes that no longer saw me and said, "Go fuck yourself. I don't care anymore. The only reason I haven't filed for divorce is because I'm not giving you my house or my money." I couldn't breathe. The man I loved had turned into someone I didn't recognize. I tried again to explain, to beg, to plead, but he cut me off and told me to leave him alone. I thought it was over. But just a few days later, something changed. He came into our room late at night. His face was red, streaked with tears. His voice trembled. "I love you," he said, "and I hate that I still do. I'm so hurt. I don't know how to get past it, but I don't want to lose you either. I just need time." It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't a fresh start. But it was something. A crack of light through the door I thought had closed forever. Now I'm living in that in-between place, between heartbreak and hope. I don't know if we'll come out of this stronger or if this is the beginning of the end. But I know this. I'm willing to fight. I will wait. I will love him through this pain, even if it takes months or years for him to believe me again. This has been the hardest season of my life. A lesson in how powerful words are, how deeply they can wound, and how hard it is to heal once trust has been broken. But I love Ethan, and I still believe in us. Even if the road back is long and winding, I'll walk it, step by step, quietly, lovingly, because I'm not ready to let go of the man I chose, the man I still choose, every day. The weeks after Ethan's emotional confession were some of the most uncertain and fragile of my life. He asked for space, and I gave it, though every inch of that distance between us felt like a mile carved out of my chest. I had no map, no timeline, no assurance that this path would lead back to us, but I knew I couldn't force healing. I had already done enough damage by trying too hard to control the aftermath. So I learned to wait. I stopped trying to fix everything with words. I let my actions speak. Quiet dinners left warm on the stove when he came home late. A folded towel left on the counter after a shower. Soft music playing in the evenings like we used to enjoy. I didn't hover. I didn't plead. I just existed beside him, gently, hoping he could still feel my love through the silence. And slowly, so slowly, I almost missed it, he began to return. It wasn't grand or obvious. It was in the way he didn't flinch when I walked past him, in how he stayed in the living room for a little longer before disappearing into the garage. One night, I found him sitting on the edge of our bed, lost in thought. I said nothing. I sat beside him, and to my surprise, he didn't move away. Weeks later, he touched my hand again. Just once. Just a brush of skin against skin. But it was enough to bring tears to my eyes. We had our first real conversation in over a month a few days after that. He told me he was still angry, still unsure. That some days he looked at me and felt the pain all over again. But he also admitted that part of him missed me. Missed us. That even when he wanted to shut me out, he caught himself remembering the good times. The laughter, the shared dreams, the way we used to dance in the kitchen when no one was watching. "I want to find my way back," he said, "but I need to do it on my own terms." And so we began again. Not from the beginning, but from this new, uncertain middle ground. It wasn't a full reconciliation, not yet. But it was movement. It was effort. And it was enough to keep hope alive. We started going for walks again, short ones, with no pressure to talk, just being near each other. Sometimes we shared stories from our day, sometimes we walked in silence. But the comfort began to return in pieces, like scattered fragments of a life we were both trying to piece back together. We even returned to therapy, this time together. It was awkward at first, raw and full of emotion, but slowly it helped us say the things we'd been too hurt or afraid to voice. It gave us tools, language, space, And with time, it gave us the beginnings of healing. Ethan told me one day during a session that he'd been afraid he was always going to be less than in my eyes, that my comment wasn't just a slip, but a truth I'd been hiding. Hearing that broke my heart all over again, because I knew that my careless words had planted that seed. And now it was my responsibility to help him unlearn it, not by force, but with time and love. Months passed. The garage no longer served as his refuge. We reclaimed it as a shared space again, him tinkering with tools, me sitting nearby with a book. Our home began to feel like ours again, little by little.
The first time we made love again, we cried, both of us, not out of pain, but out of relief, because in that moment we knew we hadn't lost each other completely. Today, I won't pretend everything is perfect. There are still moments when the memory returns, when guilt washes over me, or I see a flicker of hurt in his eyes. But there are more good days now than bad, more laughter than silence, more warmth than cold. Ethan and I have become something new. Not the same couple we were before, but something deeper, scarred yes, but also wiser, more grateful, more intentional. We understand now how fragile love can be, how easily words can wound, and how hard it is to rebuild broken trust. But we also know the strength it takes to stay, to forgive, to try again. I will never forget the pain I caused, but I will also never stop loving the man who, despite that pain, chose to try again with me, who let himself be vulnerable enough to say, I'm still here. And as for me, I'll keep choosing him every day, with more care, more humility, and more love than I ever thought possible. This is not the story of a perfect marriage. It's the story of a real one, bruised but still beating, broken in places, but stitched together with hope, patience, and the quiet decision to stay, again and again. We may never forget that night, but we will not let it define us. And in the end, real love survived.
Thank you, my amazing subscribers. Wow, what a journey. If you've made it to the end of this story, I just want to take a moment to say thank you. Your support means everything to me. Every time you watch, like, and comment, you're helping keep this channel alive and growing. And trust me, the best is yet to come. I see all your comments. I feel your love, and I truly appreciate each and every one of you. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button and drop a comment below. I'd love to hear what you think. Your thoughts and feedback inspire me to create even more powerful stories. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you never miss a new upload. More shocking twists, emotional journeys, and real-life lessons are on the way, and I don't want you to miss a single one. Together, we're building an incredible community, and I'm so grateful to have you on this journey with me. Stay strong, stay inspired, and remember, sometimes life's greatest lessons come from the most unexpected moments. See you in the next story.